It's official. At the end of the season, Manchester City will sign Borussia Dortmund's Erling Haaland. And after a long pursuit, one of the most sought-after players in world football is heading to the Premier League. Here is the story of how the deal was done. In September 2021, just a matter of weeks after City's move for Harry Kane had fallen through, there was already talk that they would win the race for Haaland. By Christmas, however, there was real fear within the club that Real Madrid had the advantage. At a board meeting in early 2022, City's top brass were presented with a plan that would require a figure in the region of, but no greater than, £190 million. When they asked what that was for, they were told a player. Secrecy is a big thing for City on every deal. Everything had been calculated to the penny. Release clause, agent commissions, wages, bonuses, everything. It took many months for the money to be put to good use. It was only in early May that the paperwork was signed, and that release clause at Dortmund does not have to be paid in full straight away, but City have known exactly how much they can spend for a few months. And the deal is considerably cheaper than expected. It had commonly been acknowledged for well over a year that the clause inserted in Haaland's Dortmund contract when he joined them from Austria's Red Bull Salzburg in January 2020 would be worth €75 million. But that wasn't the full picture. That was the number that Mino Raiola, Haaland's agent, who passed away in April 2022, had given to interested parties. City themselves only learned the true figure, €60 million or £51 million, relatively recently. City were never going to pay anything above the amount specified in a legal document, but the commissions were harder to tame. In total, another €40 million will be paid to Raiola's operation, now fronted up by the lawyer Raffaella Pimenta, who finalised negotiations in recent weeks, and Haaland's father. Still, City will argue that with a total outlay of roughly £85 million, that still represents at least half of Haaland's value were he to be available on the open market. The rest of the figure presented to the City board is made up of Haaland's wages, of around £400,000 per week for 5 years. When bonuses are included, that puts him alongside Kevin De Bruyne as the club's top earner. But City's determination to outgun Real Madrid could not have been done on financial terms alone. A big pull was Guardiola, perhaps the big pull, but there was a problem. His contract only runs for another season. Part of the reason Haaland is coming to Manchester rather than Madrid is thought to be because he's been given assurances that Guardiola will be staying on for at least another couple of years. A City spokesperson, however, insists that there will be no talks on the manager's future until next season. Txiki Begiristain, their sporting director, has been credited by those familiar with the Haaland deal as a key figure in securing the most sought-after signatures. Begiristain and Omar Barada, the Chief Football Operations Officer, work as a double act on City's transfer dealings, and they were inseparable on this one, going off-grid for days at a time to hold talks with the Haaland camp. They flew to Monaco, where Raiola had been battling illness, at the start of February and made a breakthrough in talks. The pair knew that playing for Real Madrid was and is a major ambition for Haaland, and the 21-year-old felt that Spanish football would suit his style. Despite being one of the most physically imposing players on the planet, he believed that the generally less physical Primera Division would help him avoid injuries. But Begiristain used this to outline why Manchester would actually be a better fit than the Spanish capital. Haaland has played a lot of football since his move to Germany, with both Dortmund and Norway relying on him heavily. He's missed 16 club games this season, and it was put to him that this could easily continue in La Liga because as a Galactico signing, he would have to play in as many games for Madrid as humanly possible. If not, there would be pressure on the manager, and in turn, there would be pressure on the club's president, Florentino Perez. At City, however, Guardiola is such a strong personality that he would decide to rest Haaland if he felt that it was necessary and would be able to handle any criticism that came his way over it. So, if Haaland needed a rest, at City, he would get one. So, they were now in the driver's seat after those talks in February. But time passed and nothing moved forward, with little contact between the parties. So much so that after more positive conversations at the beginning of April, City came away feeling that they were close to getting their man, but wary that another month at least could pass without further progress. That, of course, proved not to be the case, and within days they had received the green light. Things progressed rapidly from there, with lawyer Pimenta in the UK to finalise terms and then flying to Germany with Alfie, Haaland's father, to inform Dortmund that City would trigger the clause. Interestingly, Begiristan did not just have to convince Haaland about the move, he also had to have a word with Guardiola. The City manager had preferred a move for Kane last summer, and not just because the England captain was deemed to be the more available of the two, given Haaland's release clause did not kick in for another year. Guardiola felt Kane would be the better fit for his team. He was not dead set against a move for Haaland by any means. He said to be thoroughly excited to work with him and has spoken to him on the phone. And as much as anything, Guardiola will be delighted to get a big deal done. City had originally attempted to sign Kane in the summer of 2020, but had shifted focus to Lionel Messi at Barcelona. Then they returned to Kane last summer, only to end up with neither. This time, however, they have been successful. City knew exactly what they had to pay and to do. And in Haaland, they've signed one of the premier goal scorers of the generation. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is where the Ralph Rangnick to Manchester United story broke, where a team of journalists have provided unrivaled coverage of Newcastle United's new ownership and where dedicated writers cover every Premier League team no matter their place in the table. And you can try it free now for 30 days.